here are 3 ways to identify moldy hay for your horses. Mold is obviously not great for your horses. I hope if you're a horse owner, you already knew that. Mold can cause colic and other hosts of different issues with your horse. So here are 3 different ways that you can identify mold. The first and foremost, probably most obvious way to identify mold in your hay is the way that it smells. If you have bales that are moldy or are starting to turn into moldy hay, it will definitely have a weird musty smell. So if you smell a musty smell, it is probably because your hay is beginning to start the process of molding. The second way to identify moldy hay is probably where it's at. The number one way that mold begins to grow in hay or on hay is from having too much moisture locked in where it cannot breathe. So where that typically happens, like this bale, is a bale that was sitting on the bottom of a very large, heavy stack. So it is got a bunch of weight on it, and it's in a moist condition. So that causes heat, and that moisture is what causes the hay to mold. So if it is at the bottom bale of a stack, or if you break it open and it is in the very center of the bale, oftentimes that will cause the bale to mold as well. So if it's in the center and you see a white chunk, that is probably mold as well. The third and final way that you can identify mold in your horse's hay is by noticing a dust or a powder. So if you are putting out hay and you didn't smell that it was kind of funky smell, you didn't notice a bunch of white chunks in it or around it, but you're noticing a bunch of dust or powder, oftentimes or sometimes that can be mold forming. So there is also a situation where the hay is too dry, and that is actually dust, which is the opposite spectrum of mold. But if you're noticing some dust or powder, that might be something to take a look at within your hay.